Just over 3 years ago, I got in touch with Peter Millard at 10 Minute Workshop and asked him about the feasibility of using a Festool Domino one-handed, and he very kindly dedicated his 300th video to it. Well, fast forward to present day, and I'm going to show you the setup I've got in here now that makes this magnificent piece of kit a truly capable one-handed machine. Well, hello again and welcome back to my channel. Now, my motivation and inspiration for this video really came from our recent visit to Makers Central. Me and Pam went down on the Saturday and had a fantastic time. It was so nice to meet so many of you and have a chat and just talk about anything and everything really, because I've got to know a lot of folk over the last 3 or so years via this channel, but I've never met you, and it was just as much for me about meeting you guys and catching up and having a chat than it was about seeing the stands, which was also a great part of the day. Now then, just a little bit about the Festool thing as well, because if I ever do a Festool video, I do get quite a lot of folk parachuting in, sometimes with comments that aren't necessarily very helpful, like in my Festool tracksaw kickback video. You know, people coming in, and it's not out of ignorance or anything, just not necessarily knowing what the channel's about and saying, well, why have you got your one hand in your pocket when you should be using 2 hands on the thing? So just to clear it all up, folks, I am a one-handed, one-armed maker. Okay, I lost the functional use of my arm and right hand 4 years ago this week actually. So I've been looking for creative and different ways to use tools that you guys use every day, and this one is my favourite out of everything. The Festool Domino, the jointing machine, is brilliant, as you all know that, and it just makes the job of joining 2 pieces of wood together so much easier. And the way I've gone about it now, and through the help of Peter and the hive mind, and I'll come to those folk later, has made this a perfectly usable, accessible power tool for a one-handed woodworker. And I'm just going to show you through some of the things that how I do it. Now, just before I cut to the first bit, which is actually changing the bits, and I have done a video previous to this about the Festool Domino and the power of social media for good. I cannot attest to being the creator, the designer or manufacturer of any of these. I am so grateful to my YouTube friend Jeff Wild, who made these on my behalf, made them for me. This one, which I'll show you in a minute, for changing the cutter. And this one, which isn't Jeff's design, it comes from, and I'll leave a link to it, Carmonius Finsnickeri. I hope I've got that right. YouTube channel, and it's Ola Carmonius, and he created this magnificent design of using this as a jointing machine for accurate 45-degree cuts, for 90-degree cuts. But I'll talk you through that a little bit more in a minute. But do check out Ola's YouTube channel, it's brilliant. But also I've seen on social media recently, I think it's woodpeckers have got something kind of similar out. I hope they've not just completely ripped off Ola's design. And it comes at a pretty price as well, so it might be worth having a look at. But let's talk you through some of these first. Now, if you are wanting to set up and use your Festool Domino, you obviously have to get the right cutter, whether that be 4mm, 5mm, 8mm, etc. And if you are one-handed woodworker, or you have maybe some kind of debilitating condition like arthritis, then some of these things can be a little bit difficult. I personally cannot get my hand here to then get around to the cutter blade. So Jeff came up with this ingenious design of how to change a cutter blade one-handed, and I'm just going to show you a little demonstration of how it works. Well, first and foremost, you need to get the front section of the domino off before you can get at the cutter. So we'll just pop it into that little section there, and then using the little spanner, I can easily remove the body of it and then take this part out. Now here's where the genius comes in. You pop open this front bit and then put the body of the domino in there, which locks it solid, and then pop that back down, and then that locks it in place, which allows me to get at the cutter, remove that, and then with the other one, pop that in, little tighten up, loosen this off, pop that back open, this on, body in, dominoes ready to go. Genius. Okay, I'm sat down on the back from here so I can get my head in this opening shot. Let me introduce you to this totally ingenious jig created by Carmonius, and again, I'll leave a link in the description. What it actually does, it reverses the process of using a Festool Domino. And what I mean by that is, you guys out there, you will have your piece of stock fixed and you will move your Festool Domino along to create the mortise holes. What this actually does is it fixes the domino in place and you move the stock along to create the mortise holes. Now, this is the part where the actual domino fixes in. It's fixed underneath by some of these. And what you can actually do, your height when you cut in for a mortise with the domino is about 10 millimeters, I think, something like that. But you can actually adjust the height if you want to, which was provided by Jeff. So I can raise it by 1 mil, or I can raise it by 6 mil, or I can use a combo of them and raise it by 7 mil. So what I'm going to do is, I've got this piece of Kumaru here, and that's about 22 mil thick, I think. So I'm just going to put the little mil thingy in here. I'm going to fix it in, and then I'll come back to you and show you how it works. Right, the domino's now fixed to the jig nice and securely, and the jig is secured to the multifunction table by using these little kind of dog type things. Okay, and now it's simply a case of passing the stock through, fixing the stock to the jig using your clamps, and then making your mortise cuts. So let's give you a little demonstration of that. Well, to be honest, I could leave it at that, and you could be thinking, what a clever idea that is, actually fixing the domino in place. But there's more to this jig than that. There's quite a lot more, actually. What if you wanted your joint to be perfectly at 90 degrees and the cuts needed to be precise? Well, yes, it can do that as well, and it involves this bit here, and in particular, this little kind of brass rod on the end. Again, it's easier to just demonstrate and show you how I get the joints perfectly in place so you get that perfect 90-degree joint. Well, that is a perfectly aligned butt joint with the domino on the tightest setting on both. It's quite a difficult thing to do sometimes, but with this jig, it makes it so easy. You don't even need to do any measuring either, as long as you've got your first line, and then the brass pin does all the rest of the work, because you butt up the kind of fence thing next to it, and then when you flip it over, that will align the second piece perfectly and give you a perfect joint. But what if you wanted to do a 45-degree mitre, say you're making a frame? Well, yeah, we can sort that one for you as well. Look at that, perfect 45-degree mitre joint. Right, I'm going to leave it here for this one. I do like to give an insight every now and then into my kind of one-handed woodworking adventures, because I do get those questions. How do you insert woodworking related question when you've only got the use of one arm? And this gives you a little bit of an insight on occasion as to how I do it. Also, visiting Maker Central last weekend, it was so invigorating really, because it was so nice, as I said at the beginning, to speak to folk, and there was loads of interest in regards to the workshop build. Speaking with Wiz from Wiz's Woodworking, Gary Finch, talking about this and how I went about certain things, and it was just so nice to relate those kind of conversations and catch up with people. So I thought I'd do a kind of one-handed woodworking thing today. And also what it reminded me of is the generosity of the maker community. For example, Jeff building this for me, you know, I'd really be struggling if I didn't have this jig. The genius of Ola coming up with this kind of type of jig. It's better for, you know, people kind of looking at that and adapting it to their needs. But also, when I've asked for help and support during these, you know, I'm still very much consider myself a novice, and I'm learning as I'm going along, but I learned so much from you guys, and the amount of time that people take to help, support, advise me, it's just so genuinely appreciated. And last weekend was a real reminder of that, which was magnificent. Really enjoyed it. Well, as ever, everyone, take care, look after yourselves, and I'll see you soon. Thanks for watching.